Hey, what is up, guys? It is your boy, That Boy Kyrie here, and today I am back with another video. Today I'm going to be going over the theory of evolution, and I'm going to be talking about how it's closer to a historical theory than a scientific theory. To start off the video, I just want to kind of talk about how I come from a household where I was told that I couldn't watch anime because anime is of the devil, right? And my mom made me get rid of one of my Pokemon games that I got as a gift from a friend because it had evolution. Ironically, I did wholeheartedly believe in the theory of evolution from the time I was in middle school until I went to college and I took a philosophy class. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm going to go ahead and click off this video because this guy is going to say something dumb like, if we evolved from monkeys, why are there still monkeys, bro? But I promise you I'm not going to be bringing up anything that's that stupid. In this video, I'm not necessarily debunking the theory of evolution, but rather I am explaining how I see the theory of evolution and making the case that that's how you should see it as well. So to begin the video, we're going to begin at the beginning. We're going to talk about Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. The theory of evolution, as originally proposed by Charles Darwin, is the idea that all species on Earth evolved over time from a common ancestor through the process of natural selection. Natural selection is the process of the environment choosing for the best genes in that environment through competition. All individuals within a specific species will have some degree of genetic variation. Individuals with more advantageous traits are more likely to reproduce and pass down their genes to the next generation. The result of natural selection over a long period of time leads to speciation, which is the process by which a new species is made. Abiogenesis is the spontaneous generation of the first common ancestor, which proponents of the theory of evolution believe was a simple, single-celled organism. Now we're going to move on to the scientific method. I used to be a political science major in college, before switching to a business major. I took a political science class called Utopia Dystopia, in which I learned about the scientific method in depth and how to apply the scientific method to politics. I even had a test about the scientific method and how to apply it to politics, and I did fairly well on the test. The scientific method is an empirical method for acquiring knowledge. It starts with making an observation, doing background research, then forming a hypothesis that can be tested. After you do those three things, you're supposed to set up a controlled experiment, collect and analyze data drawn from the experiment, and draw conclusions from that data. Then you're supposed to communicate your results. Science is designed to test empirical things, and so whatever is being scientifically studied must be empirical, meaning that it must be based on observation or experience. If something is normative, it cannot be studied scientifically. One such example of empirical versus normative is the following few questions. The first question is, does ibuprofen cure pain? The second question is, does ibuprofen bind to the receptors in your brain? And the third question is, what are the effects of your brain receptors on the levels of pain felt? The first question is a normative question because it's subjective and it's not really verifiable. The second and third question are specific, and thus they are empirical, and so, in a scientific way of thinking, you cannot ask if ibuprofen cures pain. What you can instead do is scientifically establish that the receptors in your brain is what causes feelings of pain. And then you have to scientifically establish how ibuprofen affects the receptors in your brain. In science, it is best to isolate for two variables, and the gold standard for science are studies that include double-blind studies and studies of things that are testable and repeatable, i.e., how fast do items accelerate when you drop them? In contrast to the scientific method, we have historical theories. A historical theory is a set of concepts and frameworks used to explain and understand past events. The person making the theory puts forth a compelling case about why they believe that the theory is true, given whatever data points that we currently have. So, to answer the big question, why is the Darwinian theory of evolution more of a historical theory than a scientific theory? Well, to answer that question, the theory of evolution is more so a historical theory than science because it attempts to explain the events of the past and cannot be empirically verified. I will get into why it cannot be empirically verified soon, but we are first going to discuss the reason why it is unscientific. The first reason is because abiogenesis has not been observed. The second reason is that while speciation and natural selection have been observed to some degree, they have not been empirically verified to the degree stated in the Darwinian theory of evolution. Until those sorts of things are empirically verified, you cannot in good faith say that it is legitimate science to make the actual claims that Darwin has made. The first example of speciation was not observed by scientists until 2017. A link will be in the description below. And this example of them discovering speciation is kind of hotly contested because, again, it was a different species of finch, or at least a different finch type that was classified as a different species, coming to the island, reproducing with one of the local finches, and therefore a new type of finch was made. And they do not interbreed with the other type of finches that are local to the island. That, however, does not mean that it is necessarily a new species. Previously agreed upon terms of what a species is that they only can reproduce and produce fertile offspring of somebody of the same species. An alternate conclusion that could be observed from that data that was aforementioned could just be that the species were incorrectly classified as different, but they have the same characteristics and they can produce fertile offspring together. And so they were actually part of the same species, but maybe different races of the same species. The third reason is that survival of the fittest is a normative idea. It is subjective which traits are the best in a certain environment. One of the reasons why it's subjective is because multiple different types of organisms can all live in the same environment with different traits and all be equally okay. Also, it is completely possible that in a certain environment, there could conceptually be a better suited organism that does not exist in that environment. The third reason why survival of the fittest is kind of speculatory in nature is because it assumes that just because there's a higher amount of population, that one species is more successful than the other. It does not look at life expectancy, it does not look at quality of life, and so they're making the normative judgment that the pure numbers of a species is actually what is best for that species. As such, the theory of evolution is a particular lens with which to view the history of certain populations and how they develop over time. Much like how Marxist theory is the theory of superstructures and how those interact to bring about societal changes, the theory of evolution is, in a lot of ways, also a historical lens with which to view the world, based off of our understanding, our modern understanding of genetics and survival. And it makes certain normative assumptions about how things play out in the wild that are not empirically verified. So, why can't the theory of evolution be empirically verified? Well, the simple answer is that the theory of evolution cannot be empirically verified because in order for something to be empirical, it has to be based on, concerned with, or verifiable by observation or experience. Humans have not observed or experienced the time before humans. And even if they have observed natural selection, genetics, and speciation, because the overall theory is too complex and stretches back to a period of time in which humans did not exist, it can never be empirically verified. And so, at best, it is a historical theory that should be reassigned to history class. And at worst, it is simply untrue. It is the machination of the mind of a mid-19th century man that went on to be used as the basis for eugenics and racism. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it interesting, if you found it helpful, please like and subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe now. I'm almost up to 100 subscribers on YouTube. I would greatly appreciate it. If you have anything that you disagreed with or anything that you agreed with, please put it down in the comment section below. I will try and respond if I see it. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day.